maybe like Todd would lock in with a bass line, but that was kind of like the earliest version of that band.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I met a guy my first year in college who like showed me a bar chord and like how to tune a guitar. That kind of changed.
Well, there was quite a few bands at the time that were coming through, like the Melvins and Soundgarden as well, all at the same time as yourselves, roughly. I think. Were you aware of these other bands?
The Melvins I think started in '83, but I don't think they played Seattle till like '84.
Mm-hmm.
When I met them, there was this all ages club that existed for like maybe a year and a half called the Metropolis, and met Buzz and Matt there, and sometimes like they would be hanging out with like a tall friend who we later realized was Chris Novoselic. And Buzz and Matt just like they would drive from Aberdeen or Montesano, same thing, except maybe 10 minutes apart, which is about 2 hours, 2.5 hours away from Seattle, like every weekend, and just like stay the weekend and go to shows because there's absolutely nothing happening where they're at. And we befriended them because they were like people you saw every weekend. It was a very small group of people that were hanging out and going to local punk shows. Yeah, what was the question? So they were actually they were going at the same time Mr. Epp was going, but I probably didn't see them until like the early days of Green River when they actually played in Seattle.
Right.
They were really, really cool at the beginning. I mean, like fast. They were like maybe the fastest band in Seattle, which is really funny to think about now. And they had a different drummer, and their songs were like kind of Wipers influence too, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And then they got Dale, and everything just slowed down. And it was like, holy shit, what's going on here? Band is going on to another level,
Were you influenced at all by the industrial music? Because that's sort of in my head, the way I discovered music was it was electronica. Well, it was sort of electronica, then sort of indie, and then industrial sort of came out of both of those, and then sort of grunge came sort of after that. But it was similar sort of sound to industrial, I thought. Anyway, it was like not a sub branch, but same sort of really sort of noisy, dirty sound to it. Were you influenced at all by any groups at all that were in the industrial movement? Or?
Well, I mean, like when Soundgarden first started, and there was like another band called Feast, who never heard of, but like were probably the great lost Seattle grunge band of the '80s. They had a very like kind of gothic bent to them in a way.
Yeah.
Like I remember, like Kim used to play his guitar through a lot of like flange. So there was kind of like, like Bauhaus was definitely an influence.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They
love that.
lost that at some point, but I remember the first time there was a different record store downtown that specialized in like imports.
Yeah.
Like downtown Seattle, so I'd have to take a bus to go there. And I remember talking to the owner of that shop about Bauhaus, who I hadn't heard yet, and it was like, like kind of tell me about this. He's like, it's what heavy metal should sound like. It was like that first record. So guys, like definitely like heavy, without being like, having ridiculous guitar solos and.
I always found it strange that,
So,
when I spoke to, because I got into sort of like, and I'm sort of, well, I'm 50, so I missed 77 because I was too young,
right.
and then I sort of discovered music a bit later on, and then I sort of discovered music, the punk sort of thing, round about when I was in my 20s, but it finished by then, so.
Right.
Yeah, so I had to find something new, But I always found that all the heavy metal fans, they were sort of dressing in, the denim and they were sort of acting, always acting really, really macho, and they had big bubble perms, and all the music was full of love ballads, and I couldn't understand how they thought that was like, more macho than that, like punk or anything at all, really, except for pop. It was basically just dressed up pop, I thought,
Yeah, but but that kind of heavy metal actually attracted girls.
Of course, yeah. I mean,
that might have had something to do with it.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, I mean Bon Jovi and that sort of thing.
I mean, there were definitely like women involved in the local punk rock scene,
yeah.
But it didn't have like the broad appeal. It didn't have the broad appeal on many levels,
yeah.
But yeah, like to me, like there's like Discharge and Motorhead aren't really that far apart.
Yeah. So basically, when did you start? When you got your band together, Mudhoney, how did that come apart? How did that? How did it all start, and when did you start getting gigs and that sort of thing?
Well, Green River broke up, and Steve and Dan had actually been sort of just started kind of playing together, and I called up Steve and I was like, hey, he was actually living up in Bellingham, going to college up there, and I was like, hey, you should come back down to Seattle, and we'll take another crack of being in a band together, because he left Green River pretty early on, like he left in '85. But we still, like, after that, I played drums in a band with him called the Thronuts, which was like an improvisational group, but it wasn't as stuffy as that sounds. Basically, the idea was like it was formed by the bass player Leighton, who had been in bands and loved to play, but hated practice. Just felt like there's the worst thing you can do is just go over the same fucking song over and over and over again, right?
Yeah.
So he had this idea of just like having this band, and we just play, and whatever you play, that's it. And you only do that once. You don't learn anything. You just like maybe record stuff, but you just keep moving, right? And so how this band would work was our buddy Ed Fotherham, who does done a lot of artwork for Mudhoney and other people. Used to be a roommate of mine. We would, like, if we had a show or a recording session, we'd basically get drunk, write song titles that cracked us up, make a song.
I wondered where Big Muff came from as well. Yeah, that's probably.
Oh, that's a pedal.
Is it?
Yeah. It's a pedal, Big Muff Pie. It's by Electro Harmonics.
Oh, okay.
The Big Muff, and it has the pie symbol.
Right. In England, Muff
Obviously
is
very, very intentionally raunchy.
Yeah. Well, Muff is slang in England for something else.
Oh yeah, here too.
Yes. Oh right. Okay. Yeah. So. And isn't Mudhoney the name of a Russ Meyer film as well?
It is.
Yeah, so that was intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember